Sometimes it feels like you're fighting against the tide and not making any inroads when it comes to especially censorship issues in the modern era. But this is one situation where I'd like to think we won. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. And those posters that were removed from Tomb Raider Remastered in patch number 2 are now going to be placed back in the game in patch number 3. And I'd like to think that this is because the community pushed back so hard. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out SmashJT.com for the full article referencing this situation. Now, as far as what transpired here, initially, these posters were on top of the lockers in Tomb Raider Remastered, and then were removed in a patch update. And I and many other people in the community took major issue with this, even though it was a somewhat innocuous change that really didn't affect anything whatsoever. But I looked at it as, on the surface, it's a tiny thing, but in reality, it's the beginning of a censorship slippery slope. You start removing stuff like this, and then what comes next? You give an inch, they always take a mile. And in that video, I even said, well, listen to what I said for yourself. Such a tiny little change that I think Crystal Dynamics, when they made the update, they probably thought nobody was really going to notice. And if they did, they probably wouldn't make a big deal of it because updates happen all the time and stuff gets added and removed all the time. They could easily just brush this off as, whatever, we did it. But if we get enough pushback, enough brushback from the community, we can just say, oh, it was an accident. We removed those by mistake. Yeah, that's what we did. We'll put them back in the next update if they get called out. But that's not really what happened. In my opinion, this points to a much greater problem going on with video games. And this is Exhibit A, showing precisely why people are so frustrated with DEI in the first place. My prediction came true. From Aspyr Entertainment, Aspyr Daniel said, "Thank you to the Tomb Raider community for your continued feedback and support for Tomb Raider I-III Remastered starring Lara Croft. In the recently released patch 2, we made several texture and graphical updates to the HD version. As part of these updates, the posters in Sleeping with the Fishes, the Lost Artifact, were inadvertently removed in the HD version of the game. This has been resolved and these textures will be restored in patch 3. How convenient to blame it on an accident. Now, is there a chance that it was just a mistake, that the textures were inadvertently removed? Of course it is. There's room for error. There's room for conjecture and wondering how this happened. And of course, an accident is always the thing you can point to when something like this happens. But I knew as soon as this happened that it was far more than an accident. This narrative presented by Aspyr with the removal of the posters, what's an unintended consequence of the update, is being met with quite a bit of skepticism. It's stemming from a broader concern that the gaming community is gradually going under more and more censorship under the guise of updates and errors. It's crucial for us to stay vigilant and hold developers accountable to maintain the integrity of the original game content, because this not only is a slippery slope, but it creates a cascade effect. If stuff gets removed from older games and the history gets erased, what happens in the next generation of games and the next generation of games, where it just gets more softer and softer, less is allowed, the edge is taken off, people are afraid to show anything on any characters because they don't want to be canceled by the woke mob or whatever the reason would be. Censorship is a major issue, especially in the world of gaming, and it reaches far beyond just posters on the wall. But it's not all negative. This incident serves as a reminder that us in the community can make a difference by having our voices heard, especially in the age of social media, by saying, hey, what you did there, I'm not down with that. I would prefer it to go back to the way it was, because what you're doing is erasing the history of the game, and you can't change the past. As much as Aspyr Entertainment and Crystal Dynamics want to change Lara Croft and completely revolutionize who she even is as a character, what the games were back in the day are real. They happened. That character exists. And instead of creating a new character, they want to go back and change her to make it fit the more present day narrative of what's more socially acceptable. And I don't think that's a great direction. Let this serve as a reminder. Never give an inch on censorship issues. The slippery slope of allowing small changes unchecked can lead to significant alterations that may alter the core of our beloved games of the past. It's essential to keep the channels of communication open between developers and the community to ensure that games remain true to their original vision while respecting the voices of their most passionate fans. That includes game journalists not blocking people, developers not saying they know what's best for people, and having an open line of communication, a dialogue with each other, letting people know exactly why changes are being made and how they're going about changing them. Because in this case, it kind of feels like they tried to do something and it didn't slip through the cracks, so they had to blame it on an accident. And I knew that's exactly what they were going to do, but at the same time, I can't just point at Crystal Dynamics and say, you guys are liars, because I always have to leave room for the chance that it truly was an accident. As little of a chance as that might have been. And they are doing the right thing by rectifying it, and I want to acknowledge that. I want to say thank you to Crystal Dynamics, to Aspyr, for putting the patch 3 in, putting those posters back up, and acknowledging the situation. That's dialogue. That's progress. That's moving forward. I'd like to think we can do that on all issues. For instance, right now, there's a gigantic battle going on between Stellar Blade, with Grums fighting for what people claim to be a small piece of fabric covering the chest of Eve, the main protagonist of Stellar Blade. And there are people on the other side, mostly game journalists, trying to take down Grums and trying to cancel him, trying to laugh at him, instead of seeing the situation for what it is, which at the end of the day is another one of these small type poster things that, sure, it doesn't make a gigantic difference in the long term of playing the game, but it is censorship. And you need to stand up against that, no matter what. I don't understand why people are laughing at someone saying we shouldn't be censoring things. But one thing at a time. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. If you want more information, like I said, check out smashjt.com for the full article. I will link it in the description. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, you stay smashing. Smash